The full version of this book, Dragon Queen Scarlet Rain, is available for purchase in both ebook and paperback versions on Amazon. Chapter 15. The Little Things in Life. Aylwin awoke in a cold sweat. She lay upon a thin mattress piled with padded embroidered blankets, all of which were messily thrust around here and there during her tumultuous sleep. Her head felt muddy. She crawled over to a bowl of water near the entrance and splashed some on her face. The tiny ripples in the water settled, creating a blurry image of her. Examining herself in the makeshift mirror, she poked at her nose and brushed through her hair with shaky fingers. Reaching up to feel her ears, she noted that they were now long and pointed like the other shifters. She turned her head to see them better in the reflection and found she could slightly move them like she could in her dragon form. Her hair was different, too. A long red streak the color of her scales ran down one of her front locks. She raised an eyebrow in interest. Her hands moved down to her legs. They were covered in the same scrapes and cuts she had received as a dragon. So injuries do stay between forms. As her fingers brushed over sensitive skin, she realized just how vulnerable and soft she felt back in her human form. She had no hard scales or razor claws to protect herself with. All humans could do was magic. Aylwin raised her head, her thoughts going back to Gerald summoning a swath of fire in his hand. Now that she was a follower of Arya, could she do that as well? She stretched out her palm and strained to will a flame into existence. Nothing happened. She frowned and tried again. There continued to be no result. She decided to ask Gerald about it later. Kneeling down, she clasped her hands over her lap. What now? Her head still felt numb. Before going to sleep the night before, her mind had been stuffed with so many horrible thoughts that she now felt nothing. Her being was empty. At a loss, she crawled back to the pile of blankets, flopped down on them, and stared at the tent walls. Painted all around the circular interior were images of tigers made of flame, wolves made of water, horses consisting of air, and elephants constructed of rock, plants, and dirt. She closed her eyes, the figures dancing before her and guiding her to a dreamless sleep. That was rudely interrupted by a light tap on her stomach. "Hey!" Gerald's voice, make that Kotuya's voice, echoed in her head. He poked her again. "Wake up!" Aylwin cracked open an eye. "What?" she groaned, annoyed. "Look!" Aylwin sat up, rubbing her eyes. She gave a start as she saw Kotuya standing before her unhindered. He smiled, waving his hand over his formerly crippled leg as if it were an item being presented to a customer. Aylwin blinked. "How?" "Mom's great at healing magic. She's the best in the village. I mean, I can't walk all that well, but I'm on the fast track to recovery. Oh, Chev made this for you. He's Kara's husband and one of the village bakers." Kotuya handed Aylwin a small buttered baguette filled with grape jelly. "He wishes you well." Kotuya sat down beside Aylwin. She thanked him and began to eat the bread with a ravenous hunger. In silence, she sat and chewed. "So, it looks like you got your shifter ears and streak. That's nice," Kotuya commented. "You get 'em when you first transform from dragon to human, hence why I don't have them." He frowned. "There's got to be another reason why you refuse to transform," Aylwin countered, "besides the pain factor." Kotuya looked down. "You can tell me. I'll keep quiet." Aylwin popped the last bit of bread into her mouth. Kotuya's shoulders sagged. He wrung his hands. "Well, I've kept so many secrets, I might as well say it to make it up to you." He held out a hand. Before their eyes, it turned to the paw of a dragon. However, the scales weren't just a normal color. They were bright, shining gold. "I don't understand." Aylwin looked intently at the paw. "If I ever fully transformed, I would be a golden dragon. Gold, the mineral always used to represent Canaan, the metal used in all wands, the color of the eyes of sorceresses flash when they cast spells. I can't let anyone in my village know. What if Canaan has marked me as his own?" Aylwin gently touched the shining scales. Her brow furrowed. He continued. "When I was a kid, I was terrified of shifting to dragon form simply because of how painful it was. I've always had an aversion to pain. But one day I tried to get over it. I transformed just my hand, and I saw this. I knew then and there I could never fully shift. I would be made fun of by the other kids and my sister, sure, but it would be better than being a disgrace to my family. Eventually, I just ran away. I couldn't face my problems. And then I found you, and ended up in even bigger trouble. He gave a resigned chuckle. No offense. Aylwin grabbed his paw tightly while looking straight into his eyes. Kotuya, this isn't right. I'm pretty sure the color of your scales doesn't decide what you believe. You're a follower of Arya, not Kanan. Appearance doesn't change that. Kotuya shrugged. His paw changed back into a hand, and Aylwin held on. He glanced back up at her. I don't know. Maybe I'm just ashamed of what everyone else will think. What if they suspect I'm a traitor? Anyone who is a true friend to you would never even think of such a thing. Using your dragon form will likely be very necessary in the times to come. But there is still another problem. Sorcerers cast spells through gold. If one were to touch me while I'm in dragon form, he could cause a lot of trouble. What are you talking about? Surely your scales aren't made of actual gold. Aylwin raised an eyebrow. Actually, all dragon scales are made of minerals. Wait, really? So mine are very likely rubies, though mixed with some keratin. Kotuya nodded sagely. Aylwin reeled back. Wow. Kotuya gave a half smile. Anyway, I gotta go. My mom needs to perform another round of healing spells on my leg and shoulder. He took his hand out of Aylwin's grasp. Kotuya, Aylwin started. Hey, you don't have to call me that. Just call me Gerald. I like it better. Gerald? You can't let your fear take a hold of you. Gerald turned to Aylwin. I could say the same to you. Aylwin's mouth opened as if about to say something, but then closed. She looked away. This is a choice I have to make on my own. Gerald got up and headed for the tent exit. But thanks for listening to me. I feel better now. He swiftly left. Aylwin sat quietly, hands curled over her thighs. He's right. I am letting fear control me. I'm afraid of my mother, afraid of the dragons, afraid of Kanan, but most of all, I'm afraid of being a leader. After laying on her bed for a while, halfway between sleep and wake, Aylwin heard Kara enter the tent. Her face was stern, yet her gaze was tender. She carried a large cinnamon roll, which she tossed to Aylwin. How are you doing? She asked with a hint of sympathy. Chev made you some dessert. He hopes you like it. Tell him thank you, Aylwin said with a small smile, and bit into the delicious treat. It's very good. He'll be glad. Now get up. I need to take you to your fitting. Kara fiddled with one of her long braids. Fitting? Aylwin got to her feet and stumbled forward. Kara grasped Aylwin's forearm tightly to hold her up. For a shift necklace, so you don't have to worry about your clothes tearing when you transform. The fairies will explain it to you. The thought of talking with fairies brightened Aylwin's heart. Kara paraded her out of the tent and into the thick of the encampment. It was a lot bigger than Aylwin had first thought. The glass balls strung along the tents were lit with various colors of light, despite the bright beams of noontime sun streaming through the redwood branches. Throngs of Koana and other races of people were busily going about their day. Some stopped and watched Aylwin as she passed by. A massive iron-scaled dragon pounded away with a giant hammer at a piece of steel sitting on an anvil. With a quick breath of flame, the metal was red-hot and ready for more hammering. In another corner of the village, an old sphinx with his beard-like gray mane gave a large yawn before continuing to read a storybook to several Koanan children. Down the avenue, a centaur boy carried several packages in his saddlebags. He trotted among the tents, delivering them to several people with a flurry of, "Here you go, ma'ams," and "No problems." Kara stopped before a tunnel near the edge of the village. It was made of twisting red and orange branches sprouting faded yellow leaves. What was strange about the tunnel, however, was that it got continually smaller as it progressed, eventually ending in a tiny set of double doors the size of a hand. "Start walking in," Kara pushed Aylwin forward. "Only allowed to go in one at a time." But it gets too small." "Hey, when I tell you to do something, you better do it. I'm in charge, got it?" Aylwin was expecting Kara's face to be angry when she turned to look back at it. Instead, her lips were twisted into a familiar sly grin. "I guess that smile just runs in the family, huh?" she thought. Eowyn stepped into the passageway and ducked, expecting to bump her head against the ceiling as it got closer. However, to her surprise, that moment never came. As she continued to walk, the door before her grew bigger. Soon the door's handle was in her fingertips and prepped to open. "That's pretty interesting. A growing door. I wonder why it's set up like that, though." A quiet snicker caused her to turn her head back at Kara. Eowyn gasped and stumbled to the ground when she saw a now giant Kara standing at the opposing end of the doorway. "Turn around! Look at your back!" Kara ordered between chuckles. Aghast, Eowyn whipped her head around to find a pair of scarlet butterfly wings gracing her shoulder blades. "Can't visit the fairy village as a shifter. Way too big. Gotta get turned into a fairy first." Kara strolled down the tunnel, getting continually shrunk, a pair of eagle wings materializing behind her. How is this possible? I thought we could only turn into dragons," Eowyn stuttered. "Oh, well, shifters may be one of the only species that can switch between forms without magic, but fairies, dang, they are the absolute masters of transmogrifying with magic." Kara scratched her nose. "They can turn into any species lickety-split. Can transform non-fairies too. Their spells are temporary, though. They last just a day or two if only one fairy does it. However, the whole village enchanted this tunnel, so we can stay in the village pretty much however long we like." "That's amazing!" Eowyn admired her beautiful wings. "But how does one tell the difference between a real fairy and shifter-turned-fairy?" "Ah, well, actual fairies have really long ears, much longer than even the most experienced shifter. They retain them through all transformations, since it's a transformation constant." "I see." Eowyn felt a tingling rise in her chest. She tried to hide her excitement. "Fairies! Actual fairies!" She gave an internal giggle. Kara placed a hand on the door. "Oh, and one other thing. Magical transformations don't require getting used to. You should automatically know how to work your alter body." Eowyn nodded, just wanting to open the darn door already. With a sweeping motion, Kara did just that. Eowyn rushed through the entrance, taking in the wondrous sight before her. Set at the side of a thin, winding stream complete with a foot-high waterfall lay a village of fairies. Tree-bark boats tipped with leaf sails trod rippling waters. Female fairies with their male partners danced joyfully amongst each other on the moss-lined town square as a four-fairy band played joyful music. Multicolored glass balls housed tiny shops selling wares such as singular blueberries or rice-sized dancing shoes made of flower petals. The houses lining the pebble-paved roads were constructed from all kinds of things, some from hollowed-out tree stumps carved carefully with beautiful swirling designs, others from large green leaves stretched out on stick frames and painted with berry juice. One fairy with shimmering dragonfly wings sat at a picnic near the stream's edge with her daughter. She got up, lifted her hands into the air, and suddenly her wings transformed into those of a bat. With a dive, she splashed into the stream's warm water, laughing and swimming toward one of the boats nearby while using her wings to help propel herself forward. A willow tree on the opposite bank dangled its draping leaves into the stream. Many fairies were flying into and out of the curtain of leaves, leading Eowyn to wonder what was behind it. Eowyn wanted to cry, she was so happy at the sight of the adorable village. She subconsciously fluttered her wings, slowly rising upward. Kara grabbed her by the leg, bringing Eowyn back down to earth. She then pointed toward a house nestled between several stones at the outskirts of town. It was a tall, circular building, with many odd-shaped rooms sticking out of it at various angles. "That's where we need to go. It's the main place to get shift necklaces. I have to warn you, though, the lady that lives there is weird." "Likely not half as weird as most of the things I've seen recently," Eowyn thought to herself. To be continued in Chapter 16. A Fairy Named Jane. You can purchase Dragon Queen Scarlet Rain in both paperback and ebook versions on Amazon.com. Also, special thanks to my supporters on Patreon.